is going on, guys? It's your boy Lando from the Snap, joined by my guy Mac, coming through, answering every single question today. We're here for week 7. We're excited. Mac and I were working on some props pre-game here, so we're locked and loaded, here to help you get your start sit straight. Mac, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I feel like a special guest at this point, but I'm happy to be here.
We know
Great
you're special.
To be back. No, definitely not special. A guest, let's just say. No, stoked to be back on the channel. It's been a minute. I was entertaining the in-laws who were here for a couple weeks and not conducive to streaming, but here we are. We're back. So a special thanks to you for holding it down in my temporary absence and ready to just get back with our people. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited. It's been fun, man. Last week was a struggle without you. I'll be honest with you, but this week we're locked and loaded. Already we got 7 people watching. Toss a like on the video, it really helps the channel. I gotta get my camera straight. It's a little bit wonky, but that's why you're here, to take the pressure off me.
Back like I never left. Yeah, there is obviously the last couple weeks, maybe it's my fault for not being on here with all the injuries, but the injury chain has been steady in the NFL. Lots of pieces going down. You know, if anybody was riding the stream the last couple, or even just this year in general, just been riding the heavy stream, you lost a big piece like Kyron Williams, for example. Like, he's on IR. Deebo Samuel went down. He's not going to come back until after their bye week. So week 11, you're not getting Deebo Samuel back. You know, we lost big pieces like Justin Jefferson. It's definitely been tough. It's been a tough ride, but we also have some good news. Like, just came out like 30 minutes ago. Christian McCaffrey expected to play Monday night. I would still recommend that you go out and get Jordan Mason if he's sitting on your waivers as a insurance play. But yeah, we've definitely got some bad news, but also some promising news.
Yeah, the Rams backfield is one that we gotta kind of worry about here, because Kyron Williams going down really hurts, going on IR, and it just came out that Zach Evans expected backup. Boys, both Royce Freeman and Darrell Henderson. So it feels like a backfield just to avoid. I know a lot of fab was spent on these guys this week, so it's it's worrisome for everyone.
Yeah, and there's going to be some nuances here with players, you know, some that have struggled, some that are bringing other pieces into their workload. What to do with these players? You know, Ryan asks a question: do you have a what to do with video for Ramondre Stevenson yet? I have to look that up. I don't know if you do, Lando, but if you don't, maybe one to queue up for the people.
We have one.
Beautiful. So, you know, keep an eye out on the weekly content that happens on the channel, not just the live stream. Lando just pumps those videos out, gives you at least some thoughts on what to do with certain players.
The toughest part is I almost need to do multiple videos on some of these guys, because I've already done a Jahmyr Gibbs video, but he probably earns another video because of everything that's happened since I did that. He is officially active. So is Craig Reynolds, which we all expected him to miss this week. It just feels like Craig is going to get a couple touchdowns in this game, and it's going to be the Jahmyr Gibbs face plant, you know, hand in face kind of scenario.
Deshaun Watson, Kareem Hunt are also both active. I love Hunt and Jerome Ford as some flex plays this week. And then the other one that is not that you were starting Zach Charbonnet by any means in any leagues, but he's not going to play today. DJ Dallas is expected to absorb the RB2 role, but I think this just bodes well for Ken Walker. Like Lando said, we were talking props pre-game, and we both went big on a Ken Walker large day. So if you had any doubt as to Ken Walker today, I think you roll him full confidence, RB1 locked and loaded.
Aaron Jones is back, and Mac, we know you're
Mhm.
an Aaron Jones, or sorry, a Green Bay Packers fan. Are you
Yep.
just gonna fire up Aaron Jones in your starting lineup? You have him as a top 24 back this week, despite the poor performance from Green Bay running backs.
Yeah, I mean Aaron Jones week 1 was sensational. 9 for 41 on the ground, 4 for 86 through the air, 2 total touchdowns, was the RB1 on the week, and missed the next 2 games with a hamstring injury. He kind of went into the end zone on his second touchdown and pulled up, missed that. Played Detroit, was not utilized a ton, only a 35% snap share. Missed the next week on bye, now coming back against Denver. The beauty with Denver, though, is that they are one of the softest defenses against the run. They are actually the very worst against the run in the league this year, giving up a ton to opposing fantasy running backs. The only question I have with Aaron Jones is the utilization. Are they going to give him a full workload, or are they going to split carries with AJ Dillon? Are they going to try to work in James Robinson, who they signed this week? What is the RB3 position look like for the Packers? I kind of expect a little bit of a rotation between at least him and Dillon. The matchup is so good that I think you definitely have to flex him. And if you're down some major pieces this week, I mean, there are some very notable players on bye this week. So, don't dismiss that because Aaron Jones is coming back from injury, that he's not a possibility. I think he's still going to be at least a top 24 back this week with running back one upside. It's just how much does he see the field? So great matchup. Not sure about the utilization, but definitely advocating that you do play him.
As a reminder to everyone in there, we do answer every single question. So toss a like on the video while you're here. I do want to mention before we start, weather is going to start to have an impact on players. I just brought up a weather report. The Detroit Baltimore game has 19-mile-an-hour winds. So no rain in the forecast. So it really doesn't affect the quarterbacks and receivers much under 20 miles an hour. Once he gets over that 20, things really take into account. So we're pretty good this week. The Washington at New York Giants game as well, 17 miles an hour wind, no rain as well. It's only slight chance of showers in some cities that have domes. So I don't think we need to worry about rain too much this week, which is positive, but it's something we do need to take into account, especially if you have kickers. If you're starting kickers in an outdoor game with rain and wind, just try to find a dome game. Doesn't kicker rankings, we always get 1 or 2 each week. If you can find a kicker in a dome, that's always a plus EV move.
Let's hit up the questions here before the hour gets away from us. Just looking through, we have some Snap Army members coming through. Our guy Easy Daddy stoked for week 7. Looking through for any of his questions, and I don't see Easy, but if you have an Easy, let us know. So we'll kick it off with Daniel here. Ready for another week. If Metcalf doesn't play, should I play JSN or KJ Osborne? You had the nice call on KJ Osborne. Was it last week? After the Justin Jefferson injury, and you were spot on. Led the team in receiving.
He did. Addison was a really big disappointment last week. He did get the touchdown, which kind of saved his week. But yeah, KJ is more the PPR guy, and he's the guy that you want to play in PPR leagues. He didn't rack up as many yards, but against Kansas City or San Francisco this week, it's going to be tough for either of those players to perform. So I'm not a big I'll try to avoid the Minnesota receivers if I can this week. So JSN, I think, to answer Daniel's question, is in a really good spot. I do think DK plays, but Tyler Lockett was also questionable this week. So I do think they're going to be integrating JSN more in this week's game. So I'd like JSN over Osborne.
Yeah, JSN over Osborne, Metcalf over both. Yes, sir. Yeah. Javonte Williams or Romeo Doubs. I was very hopeful for Javonte Williams this year, and Denver as just a whole has been awful. You are scared a little bit of Romeo Dobbs. They are in a great position against Denver this week. Who would you roll between the two?
Man,
To
that's a
be
really
fair,
tough one.
Green Bay's secondary is fantastic. Top 10 right now. Their run defense is still poor, bottom half. So the plus matchup for the Broncos is on the ground. Let's see if they put that into their approach, their strategy for this game, utilizing Williams and maybe Jaleel McLaughlin. I have faith that Javonte will at least be semi-productive against the
Yeah.
Packers because I don't know how much they'll be able to throw it. So I would play Javonte Williams over Romeo Dobbs because I think on the flip side, the Packers are also going to try to utilize the run game. So this could be a quicker one.
I agree. I think in standard scoring leads means there's no point per reception. You're hoping for a touchdown here. And I do think Javonte has the higher likelihood of a touchdown, especially with Aaron Jones back for the Packers.
Yeah. Another Denver question here. Jaleel McLaughlin or Addison in the flex. Addison has the much tougher matchup, but obviously I think the better player. Who do you lean here?
Yeah, I'm going to roll with Addison, hoping he keeps on
keeping on.
And they're going to be playing from behind. They're going to be forced to pass a ton. It should be a positive game script for the Vikings. It's just if Kirk Cousins can get the ball out in time, is really like he's going to be under pressure all game long. It's going to be frustrating to watch, but you're hoping for kind of a big broken play in Addison's score. So I think Scott, I'm hoping for Addison here.
Little league question here. So we are in a league of record with Ryan Temps, Landon, and I. Who would you trade Taylor to, and for what?
Jonathan Taylor.
I like that you are considering trading him because he has wasted on your team for far too long. Okay. I think you trade him to anybody who's willing to give you the proper younger pieces and or capital. So, you know, a team like Rich, I think, for example, I don't think he has the capital. Landon's team, I thought you were entering a little rebuild, but maybe you're not. I think though you try to get yourself some capital. So, a first and a second and maybe some younger pieces. Like my team definitely has the ability to give you that. It's just a matter of negotiating a deal, but I would absolutely be willing to pay for Jonathan Taylor. The only problem with our league is that it's a little bit passive in regards to trading and parting with draft capital. So
yeah,
I think you're going to have to approach the right people to get the right return. But I like that you're contemplating moving him.
Yeah, Mark's team is a contender every single year. He's got Christian Watson and picks. So like I think something along the lines of Watson and a first and a second maybe could get it done. Like I'm trying to get young players that maybe haven't quite performed yet. So they're not going to be starting on a contender's team. Beneficial for your team to hopefully break out in this by the end of this year or next year.
Yeah. No, for sure.
But yeah, I'll trade for Taylor.
I think you got two people, Ryan, at least, and probably more if you just started the conversations or put them up on the block. Need two positions this week. Full PPR projected to win by 1, so tight matchup. Quarterbacks of Love, Purdy, and Geno. Flex of Gibbs or JT. Okay, so JT, they've been ramping him up. What Landon and I talked about pre-show was that the one thing we love about JT is that he is being utilized in the passing game. So in a full PPR league, the targets he's receiving through the air are fantastic. I like those opportunities for him. Jahmyr Gibbs, they have a tough matchup against Buffalo, and he's been completely underwhelming. So between the two, I'm just going to roll JT. At the quarterback position, I think Love is in a really good spot, but I think Geno is in the ultimate spot. So Geno would be the play for me personally.
Detroit plays Baltimore this week.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. They have a tough matchup.
I said Buffalo.
Gibbs has a tough matchup against Baltimore.
Right. Yeah, I'm worried. as much as I want it to be Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm not going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm going with JT. I want to see the workload. He should have the perfect opportunity. Craig Reynolds is so banged up, he should not be active this game. But yeah, go with JT over Gibbs, and then
are you going Gino? I think they're both. I think Purdy and Gino are both good plays. I think I would rather play Gino. If for me personally, if Christian McCaffrey, which we got the report that he is expected to play on Monday despite the oblique injury, if Christian McCaffrey is active, they are going to run the football and they're going to run it a ton. And to beat Minnesota right now, I don't know how much you need to throw the ball.
I mean, you could say the same for Arizona, but Arizona has been kind of sneaky good.
Sneaky good.
I talked myself into Gino. I was going to say Purdy to start, but because Arizona has been sneaky competitive, you hope that Gino's forced to throw, and
divisional game too.
Yeah. They're at home. They're at home in Seattle. Better than the Niners on the road against Vikings with limited
nasty points. Potential candidate for nastiest question of the week: Tutu Atwell or Logan Thomas in a full PPR. Also waiver options like Everett, Musgrave, and Ingram. I would play Musgrave out of the whole bunch.
Oh, it's never fun playing a tight end in a flex spot.
No.
Tutu, since Cup's been back, is pretty much an afterthought. He was a good guy that you grabbed Brady from the waiver wire and had a couple good games, but yeah, I think Musgrave is a sneaky spot. You're hoping for a touchdown from any of these guys, Brady. So whoever scores out of this list is going to be the right answer, and I think Musgrave has a good chance too.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm just trying to see what Denver has given up to opposing tight ends, but I can't find that at the moment. They're the second worst against tight ends. So they're the absolute worst against the ground, and they're giving up the second most to the tight end position. So I don't know. I think Jordan Love will be also a sneaky little streamer today if you're down bad and need somebody decent. Logan Thomas, we saw the volume. I think the matchup is much better for Musgrave. So I would just pick up Musgrave and roll him. You probably picked up Logan Thomas this week after that performance.
Yeah, I agree.
Pick 2 of the 3 for week 7, Jonathan Taylor, Brian Robinson, or Ramondre Stevenson. Jonathan Taylor is a locked and loaded option. It gets a little bit tricky between Brian Robinson and Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre has the much tougher matchup against the Bills, but Brian Robinson has a decent matchup getting the volume.
Yeah. Oh man.
Even though it's probably the wrong answer, I'm going to go with Brian Robinson.
That's kind of where I was leaning too. I don't love it. To summarize my video on Ramondre, I expected him to have a good game against the Vegas Raiders, and he did. And so I would want to sell Ramondre Stevenson if I can after that big game. Unfortunately, Brian has the situation. Maybe you traded for him. So maybe you're the guy that traded for him. Who knows? But I agree that Brian Robinson and Taylor are the correct answer. And hopefully Gibson doesn't vulture a touchdown from Robinson. And you're in good shape here, Brian.
This is a really interesting question from Finn. JSN or Josh Downs in a full PPR, and the full PPR definitely solidifies my answer. Even half I would be going here, but Josh Downs over the last, let's just say the sample size is the last 4 weeks, targets of 12, 3, 6, and 8, receptions of 8, 2, 6, and 5, got into the red zone for the first time last week, has finished as a wide receiver 3 or better 3 of the last 4 weeks. In a PPR league, Josh Downs is a legitimate every week starter at this point, and I think you're in a really good spot with him this week. So I would put Josh Downs in the lineup.
I agree. Although we're projecting JSN to have kind of a coming out party this week, it's still very much projection. He hasn't done it yet. So, but Josh Downs looks great. I completely agree with Mac. I'm going with he's a good player. I like Josh.
Is it worth trading Raheem Mostert for Tony Pollard? If you are trading away Raheem Mostert, then yes. If you are giving away Tony Pollard, then no.
Yeah, Raheem's been great, but it's Alan. That's such a lateral trade, and although
I
Pollard,
don't see this as lateral though.
so I mean like Mostert is the number 2 ranked running back on the season.
Yeah, my point is that in a week or two, we're going to get Devon Achane back, and the ceiling for Mostert will exist in high scoring games, which the Dolphins have been scoring at will essentially. But there's not like he's propped up by that massive performance where him and HN both had like 200 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. So there's a little bit of both that exists. The true workload though is with Pollard. I think the potential long term is for Pollard over Mostert. So I would even though I'm not the biggest Pollard fan, I would advocate that you get Pollard while you can.
Yeah.
Like who's the running back one there? Is it Mostert or Achane?
You would think that it's still like Achane's good, but he was so efficient with his work. He was like every time he touched the ball, he scored. But I still think it's going to be Mostert leading the backfield. It's going to be more split. I agree. But as far as rushing attempts go, if everyone's healthy, I think it's still probably Mostert. It's hard to go away from him. But yeah, I mean,
there's no RB2 in Dallas though.
No, you're right. Yeah, it's gonna. You're with Salvin Ahmed's back, Jeff Wilson's back. All these players are back. Achane will be back in a couple of weeks. Sounds like his injury wasn't that bad. Mm-hmm. I don't mind it. I think Pollard's not a bad play. Good buy low candidate. So yeah, it's fine. I'm convincing myself into Tony Pollard as well, but it's so hard to go away from basically the RB1 right now.
Oh, I know. And that it's like, is it a sell high moment to grab a player that was drafted in the top 2 rounds? Some people reach for Pollard in the opening round.
Yeah.
It seems like it could be a league winning move, just workload for efficiency.
Yep.
Jaleel McLaughlin, Antonio Gibson, or Jeff Wilson. I'm not touching Jeff Wilson this week because of what we just talked about with Raheem Mostert. Really interesting matchup with the Eagles. I can't wait to watch that game. Half PPR, I think I would lean Jaleel McLaughlin. I don't know that you can trust Antonio Gibson, but McLaughlin's been great with his work, and Green Bay's soft on the ground, so I would probably go McLaughlin.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. It's I'm interested to see what kind of workload Jeff Wilson gets this week. But like I said, Mostert is the lead back. You're hoping for a long touchdown run. I mean, they have track stars in the backfield for the Miami Dolphins. Like he's not just as fast, but he's a fast running back. Yeah, you're hoping for a touchdown, Ryan. I think Gibson has gotten kind of touchdown lucky. He'll rush into the mean. Will
almost
depend him
at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, McLaughlin's I think a good pick.
We got our Snap member coming through here. Gross question, standard scoring. Start 1, Deonta Foreman, Darrell Henderson, or Craig Reynolds.
I would go Foreman.
It's between Foreman and Reynolds for me. I think the matchup against the Ravens is gross enough that I would just say go with Foreman.
I think just because everyone is hurt in Chicago, it's going to be this, like, I thought Roschon Johnson was going to be back this week. Same. I think he's a sneaky ad if he's available on your waiver, if he was dropped because he's out, but they have no one else. They have no option. And with Fields being out too, they're going to rely on the rushing game so much. It's going to be gross yards, averaging 2.8 per carry, but you never know. He could bust one and get one. The Vegas defense is not stout by any means.
Their pass rush is stout though.
Max Crosby is a machine. Like he plays every snap. He's so good, but their defense as a whole is a sieve.
Yeah. So that brings up Daniel's questions. Also, greetings from Australia. Daniel, I did not know you were from Australia.
Yeah.
So
you come by every week, and I appreciate you coming by. That's awesome.
I mean, technically, it's Monday, I believe, in Australia. So imagine being like West Coast time is great because like games start at 10 a.m. For Daniel, it's a Sunday. It's a work day. Like Daniel getting ripped off here on
Is it
NFL
really?
football.
Hold on. Is
For
it
sure. They're like 16 hours ahead.
3:26 a.m. in Australia right now? Is that what I'm seeing?
15,
I just
15
Googled
hours,
it.
16 hours. It's something like that. Yeah.
Monday morning at 3:30 in the morning, and he comes by every week to hang out with us and watch football.
It's crazy, man. I appreciate the like what a league to be a fan of.
If I traveled and lived in Australia, I would take every Monday off. That would be a prerequisite for my job.
Be sick. To answer the question, I've like basically put my mortgage on the Raiders winning money line. So yeah, Raiders.
Go Raiders.
I don't think
then.
this game's even close. Like Tyson Bagent is making his first NFL start. His first NFL snap was a shotgun snap. Did not see the pressure coming. Strip fumble from the backside and scoop and score for a touchdown, and it was just like downhill from there. So I don't think he has any chance against Max Crosby.
I have a question for you, Mac. I have a kicker question.
Oh God.
Every week I play that game where I add a waiver wire guy and drop my kicker. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Just to like, get an extra spot. So
Yep.
I got the Carlson twins as my options.
Yes.
Would I go with Daniel or your boy, what's his name? Anders Carlson from Green Bay. Who do you like?
The Packers. Yeah. Nice little rookie. Like I was wondering when we were going to move on from Mason Crosby. I'm happy that it was for Carlson.
Yeah.
I personally just think that like I have in I think 2 or 3 leagues this week, Raiders defense and Carlson kicker. Like I'm just all in on the Raiders just smashing the Bears. So that kind of
and so for I've hit the bye week bug. So I've got Rondell Moore or Sky Moore in my flex. Who do I start and drop?
Love Rondell.
So I'm gonna drop Sky Moore because he's garbage anyways.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Done.
That was easy.
I've added and dropped Daniel Carlson probably 3 times in this league.
You know what's funny? Like last year, he was like the number 1 or number 2 kicker on the year, and this year he's been awful. But last week was good.
Exactly. Started him 2 weeks ago. Dropped him. Picked up a different kicker last week. Lost. If I would have kept Daniel to start, I would have won my matchup.
Right. That's chasing kickers in a nutshell. All right. Donnie comes through. Najee, Jeff Wilson, Kareem Hunt.
Pick 2. Oof.
Pick 2. So, Najee and Kareem.
Yeah. I'm a little bit higher on Jeff Wilson than you are. Only because of that just offense scoring 1,000 points every week. And maybe they just mix in and give more work to like Raheem Mostert can't sustain this kind of workload. He's a guy that always gets injured, and Jeff Wilson coming back, it just feels like they're going to work in more guys. It's never a bad idea to have a back on a team that's going to score a ton of points. With that being said, I do agree with you. I think Jeff Wilson's more of a flex play than a RB1, RB2 spot, but I'll go Najee and Kareem Hunt. Long-winded way of saying the same as you.
Full PPR projected to lose by 7. KJ Osborne or Laporta at the flex. We know Laporta's kind of banged up, but I think that the potential is much higher for Laporta over Osborne. So I would go with Laporta.
Which is crazy to think. You know,
for sure.
Because you would never. So I'm curious to say, Buckstar, who your starting tight end is going to be. It's got to be one of Kelsey Andrews.
Yeah.
Goddard, Hawkinson, like one of those guys. And you've got Laporta as well, because he's a top 5 option kind of every week nowadays.
Oh, no doubt. JSN or Michael Pittman to start. I would probably just roll with Michael Pittman.
Yeah, having Richardson out for the year, I think helps Michael Pittman and his rest of season outlook. I think is a top 20, top 15 kind of option week in and week out. It's a tough matchup, but
Gardner Minshew threw it 55 times last week. Like they are not just saying, "Oh, Gardner, let's just hand the ball off to Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor." They're saying like, we still want to try to win games. So
yeah.
Like green light, man.
Yeah. I'm seeing here now.
Oh yeah.
He's starting Hawkinson, so it
Yeah,
makes
start them
sense.
both, dude.
Start them both.
Heck yeah. I was gonna bring up with Jackson Smith with this current question. Like I love Jackson Smith. I love the talent. Still think he's the best wide receiver in this class, but there's been no reason for you to start him for fantasy so
No.
far. Like the target count's been okay, the snap share's been decent, but we need to ultimately see them depart from Lockett at some point, or an injury to Metcalf or Lockett needs to exist for him to really take the next step, in my personal opinion. So I don't see his current play style, owning the slot being highly valuable. They're downfield or they're on the ground, Seattle. So I just there's no reason.
Yeah, I think he is closer to a KJ Osborne this week. I mean, KJ is seeing the targets in a tough matchup. Jackson will see targets, might not get a ton of yards. It's going to be the DK show downfield. It's going to be the Ken Walker show nonstop. So I think you're going to have to rely on a touchdown long play. I don't think it's going to be a huge game for Jackson Smith, unfortunately.
Tend to agree. Sorry, Jacoby Myers, Jordan Addison, or George Pickens at the flex, half PPR. This is actually really tight. We talked about
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers pre-show,
Mm-hmm.
and we ultimately stayed away, but we were going to put him into a nice parlay that we had going. But kind of, who are you leaning here? Because I have a lean.
I think I do lean Jacoby Myers. He's been very good. He's been a go-to guy. I do think that it's going to be a Devontae Adams week. We mentioned, squeaky wheel.
Gets the
I think
grease.
he's going to have a big game, and it's going to be unfortunate because everyone's going to have a ton of confidence in Jacoby having that game. But after the past two weeks, it's hard to go away from him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if that's the case, and maybe the squeaky wheel never gets the grease, and it's still going to be the Jacoby show. It's a great matchup at Chicago. I think you have to keep rolling with him after what he's showed.
Yeah, and like George Pickens, you can't deny, has been sensational at times this year, and his last game before the bye was like amazing.
Yep.
That being
True.
said, Jacoby Myers has just the best matchup and has sneakily been a very, very good fantasy option. So I'm probably going to go with Jacoby Myers, given that the matchup for the Steelers against the Rams is not as cakey as the matchup for the Raiders against the Bears. So I'm going to go with Myers.
Yep. I like it too.
Full PPR projected to win. Pick one. Wide receiver, one flex from Pittman, Godwin, and James Cook. Easy one for me. Godwin and James Cook.
Yeah, I think that's all too. James Cook has been very efficient with all his work. I agree.
This test the Lockett love. Full PPR projected to win, but barely Lockett or Jacoby Myers.
I feel like it should be Lockett, but his injury and being a little bit banged up concerns me a little bit.
Yeah, I think the question mark on Tyler Lockett for me at least brings Jacoby Myers into the conversation. Yeah. I think unless we hear otherwise, I would just roll Tyler Lockett. And I know that doesn't I know that really doesn't help the situation because the Raiders play at 1:00 and the Seahawks at 4:05, so Eastern time. So you're gonna have to make the decision in the next 25 minutes. But personally, I would just go with Lockett.
Go with Lockett. It's a hamstring. He doesn't have an injury designation as of right now. I just looked it up. So hamstrings can be tricky, but if he's not injured, he's not on the report. I mean, you should fire him up with confidence. It's a great matchup. It's just I'm just worried. I really hope for fantasy owners that he just doesn't pull up in the second play of the game, and you're done.
Quick question here for you. For me, how many points does Buffalo beat New England by today?
17.
Okay. That's all I need.
What's the spread?
I don't even know. I haven't looked. I was just doing my pick'em, which has the winning margin wrapped into it.
Low key, I heard today that Devontae Parker always has a good game against Buffalo. If you want, if I'm gonna maybe look at his over/under on receptions and maybe sprinkle some money on that.
What do we think about trading Calvin Ridley and Chuba Hubbard for Devontae Smith? Full PPR, my wide receivers are decent. Just can't do it with Ridley anymore. I don't mind it. I think Devontae Smith is a good buy low right now.
Yeah.
And Hubbard is a piece you probably picked up off the waivers in the absence of Miles Sanders. So, and Ridley, you might got a good value on in the draft or a keeper. So yeah, I would make that trade. I would take Devontae Smith.
So for these kind of trades, Mac, I'm curious what you would do because Ridley already played. If he makes this deal right now,
it doesn't go
could
through,
happen
though.
that it doesn't go through, but Devontae could get hurt for like this game. So if you wait until this week's over and Devontae Smith has a good game, then maybe the trade's off the table. Like, where do you do risk level on these players?
I think if the person that I am chatting with, like if it's on the table, it's mine to accept. I think I would say with them and involve the commissioner as well. I will accept this trade with the caveat that Devontae Smith is healthy after this week. Like if he tears his ACL and he's out for the season, I'm not taking the deal.
Correct.
If Ridley hadn't played, then it's easy. You just accept it. But I think it is fair given that the trade will not go through until Tuesday or Wednesday that you are within your right to just say, yes, I will accept unless there's an injury to Devontae.
And the same I think could be said for Chuba Hubbard too. Like if Chuba tears his ACL done for the year, it's good both ways.
You could do that too. Yeah, it's good both ways. That's definitely fair. So there's obviously an element of risk, but you wouldn't want to accept it and then put yourself in a position where you're trading for somebody that you can't use. So I think that's totally fine. With many injuries and bye weeks plaguing my team, I'm left to pick 2 out of these 3, KJ Osborne, George Pickens, and Romeo Doubs. This is a full PPR, and he's 42 points behind.
Pickens
Stewart from across the pond. Pickens and Doubs for me.
I agree with that. I don't think KJ Osborne has a ceiling against San Francisco this week, but I do think that Doubs and Pickens can have that ceiling. It might not matter, Stewart, unfortunately, but either way, I think you have to go with the upside in Pickens and Doubs. It makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. We got that one. Oh, and Justin Jefferson. Oh, we kind of already got this one. We just didn't have the list of wide receivers, but I think the answer for me is still yes.
Yep.
Okay, pick 2 in a full PPR. Kittle, Goddard, Najee. Everyone else on my team is injured. I would rather not start 2 tight ends if I could help it, but Najee Harris has slowly been losing work to Jaylen Warren and confidence in my heart. So I would just roll both tight ends. I hate to say it.
We've seen it should be a good week for Dallas Goedert. It should be. I mean, Kittle's one of those guys. His floor is basically 0, but his upside is 3 touchdowns. So if you're banged up, you don't have a good starting lineup, go for the ceiling plays in both tight ends, which is weird to think that the ceiling plays are both tight ends. I agree.
A double there. Who's the better? I'm going to say RB, Royce Freeman or Darrell Henderson. Both in awful positions. I think
playing for the same team,
Henderson,
right?
I think Henderson is technically backing up Freeman. Henderson has the history with the team, probably knows more than Freeman, but I think the way it's come out that both of them are backing up Zach Evans. So I don't know.
No, Zach Evans is backing up both of them. They are their starters.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Sorry, I missed that. Do you want to
I think go with the guy with the history with the team, and that's Darrell Henderson.
It's probably right.
Scheme wise, blocking, pass blocking, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's kind of where I lean right now. But it's impossible to know what's going to happen in LA this week, unfortunately.
Are you leaning Miami or Philadelphia this week out of curiosity?
Oh no, I I think I have no idea. I think it could be Miami.
I have Miami.
But
Miami by 4.
okay. They've
Total.
only beat really bad teams, right? That's the thing with Miami. They've scored a ton, but their wins are against bad teams.
Yeah. Yeah, they struggle against Buffalo.
Yep. Well,
Do I start
they
Drake
lost.
London or Jahmyr Gibbs?
I think you start. I never thought I would say this, but
Drake
Drake
London.
London.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Mike Evans
Yeah.
or Christian Watson? I'm going to start Mike Evans.
Yeah, for sure. But very similar archetype players.
Yeah. What are CMC owners to do? I got Mitchell on my bench just in case, and Mason also available. I mean, I think personally Mason will get the nod if CMC is unable to play, but we got a report around 11:30 today that CMC is expected to play despite the oblique and rib injury. So I'm rolling out CMC. I have him in a couple leagues, and you're just forced to do so. I think the best insurance policy, though, is to have Jordan Mason on your bench and not Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, I think it should be a moot point where if McCaffrey plays, you play him, and it's good that
Do
you
you
have one back as a backup. But if he somehow is inactive, if we find out that he's inactive tomorrow, just drop Mitchell and add Mason.
Do you feel comfortable going into Monday night with Jordan Mason as the potential starter for you if Christian McCaffrey doesn't play?
Yeah,
Yeah, like at this point, I think I would start Jordan Mason on Monday night against the Vikings over, let's say, Najee Harris or Ramondre Stevenson, even like in bad matchups. I think I'd be happy with like just conceding that it might not be as good, but it's probably going to be okay.
yeah, yep. I agree.
Romeo Dobbs over Michael Wilson. Outlook on Jerome Ford today. I like where Jerome Ford is at, and I would
So
play
do I.
Dobbs over Wilson.
Yep, I agree on both. Wilson's an exciting rookie, but I don't feel comfortable starting him yet unless you have to in a dynasty matchup. But Ford looks good. I would start Ford over all those players.
Our guy Griff coming through. PPR projected to win in a vampire type league. If I play CMC and lose the matchup, I will lose CMC. Do I play CMC or leave him on the bench for Michael Wilson? No, you play CMC, my guy.
Griff, that's fun though. I like those kind of leagues. And he has Mason ready to go if CMC ends up not playing. But
So that question comes at a perfect time because I'm basically doing the same thing, not in a vampire league, but same strategy. And I mean, to be fair, in our couples league that Landon and I are in with our significant others, I play my wife this week, and she
yeah, it's
came
the
to me
worst.
yesterday. She has Christian McCaffrey. She came to me. She's like, "What do I do? Is he going to play or not?" And I said, "You need to go to the waivers right now and pick up Jordan Mason in case he doesn't." And I gave my wife that advice, fully knowing that she is playing me. So
okay,
that's what you gotta do.
Here's the question for you, Mac. This Vampire League for Griff. If he's down by 20 points Monday night, do you just put Jordan Mason in there because he's not gonna win, or he might not win? And what's the point where you start McCaffrey no matter what? Like if he's down 30 points, do you just sit so you can keep him?
So I don't know because like vampire leagues that I have heard of have different rules. It's like you can take someone from the starting roster or you can take one from like anybody on the roster. So if you're in a league where it's like you can only take the players that you've started, then there is an element of strategy there. I would just try to win.
Right. So even if you're down 25 points, McCaffrey's the only guy that can get to that
Can
point.
make up that deficit.
So play him.
Yeah.
But I think there's some interesting strategy there. If he's down by a ton, and you can only steal from the starting lineup, just concede this week and keep McCaffrey on your team.
Yeah, you could do that too. If you're down by more than 25, you probably just play Mason and just say, whoops.
Yep.
I love Cleveland or Washington defense. I'm going to play Cleveland.
Oh man, I put Fab down on Cleveland this week.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did.
if they have a defensive score, I'm gonna win all my matchups. But if they
for
suck
real.
this week and Indy actually puts up a good game, I'm toast.
Yeah. I did I miss Leon's earlier question? Oh, Mike Evans or Christian Watson. Yeah, Mike Evans. Chiefs got McCole Harbin back. I will say what I've always said about McCole Hardman. Who cares? You know, who cares?
Yeah, I know. I had a question about that this week. How about this guy? Should I pick him up? It's like, no. McCole will have his
Have you
week
ever
here and
wanted to
there.
pick him up?
Every Chiefs wide receiver will have their week, but good luck projecting when it's going to happen. As soon as you think you can trust McCole or Sky or Rashee Rice, then you just can't. And then the only one you can trust is Travis Kelce, and it seems like Isaiah Pacheco is a guy you can trust too. But that's it.
I'm not. Nope. Never wanted McCole Hardman. Still don't want McCole Hardman. That's pretty much it.
Yep.
Raiders defense or Commanders defense. I currently have the Raiders defense in there.
You're going against your decision is the bad offense. You're going against the bad offense, right?
I'm going against the bad offense, and I've watched enough of Max Crosby to just think he's going to get home a couple times. You know what I mean?
Well, now the Washington front four is good, and you do have a backup quarterback. Tyrod, I think, is a better backup than what we're seeing from what's his name, Bilbo Baggins there in Chicago, but Bagent. But yeah, I think the Commanders have a better defense.
Commanders have a better defense, definitely a better secondary. I think Tyrod's good enough, though, that he can at least not be super careless. Like, this kid's making his first start today. I mean, that in itself, I think, is reason enough to play a defense against him, let alone one with one of the best pass rushers in the league. So I'm more so just betting on the ability of Max Crosby to be an absolute problem than for the secondary to do its work. I think that's where I am in my thought process. But I agree, because I think both are really good options. You know, it's not
at the end of the day, yeah, New York still has Saquon Barkley. Chicago doesn't have. I mean, they have DJ Moore, but that's about it. But they don't have a.
That's literally it. Yeah, that's literally it.
But unfortunately, they need a quarterback with no experience to get him the football. So
correct.
Yeah.
All right, we got Zach Foster coming through. Running back room is a wasteland, much like the rest of us. Pick two in a standard: Rachaad White, Jalen Warren, Elijah Mitchell, or Jeff Wilson. I'm going to go with White and Warren. Elijah Mitchell, you are, again, I think Mason is the true backup if CMC doesn't play. Jeff Wilson in a nice spot this week, but the Eagles are tough, and Mostert's going to get the bulk of the work. So I just think that White and Warren have the most opportunity. Do you see it that way, or do you see it different?
I see it that way. I see it's White and Jalen Warren for this answer. Absolutely.
Goff or Jackson, Craig Reynolds, or is that can't be Taysom Hill, so it's got to be Justice Hill.
Yeah, I would go Justice Hill over Craig Reynolds, and then Lamar Jackson as for the quarterback question.
Agreed. It's also super flex. Have Cousins in. Is it worth benching him for one of these running backs or Zay Flowers, or just roll with the QB? I'm projected to win. Kirk Cousins is good enough that he's not going to completely crap on you if things go bad. However, the matchup is terrible. So if you wanted to go with Zay Flowers, I think that's an okay pivot, especially as a favorite. But I mean, typically, even quarterbacks on bad matchups outscore positional players in good matchups. So, I mean, depends on your league. If it's a 6-point touchdown league, I would probably lean Cousins. If it's 4, you could probably pivot to Zay if you wanted complete safety. But
you could talk yourself into it, but I would play the quarterback for sure.
I would play Kirk. Yeah. I mean, Kirk Cousins is no slouch.
No, he'll be fine.
Geno Smith or Jordan Love? I do think Jordan Love will potentially be a top 12 quarterback this week, but I'm going to go with Geno.
I agree, Geno.
Drum Master, we're both doing well. For the flex, choose 1.5 PPR: McKinnon, Jalen Warren, Akers, or Judy.
I think it's Jalen Warren for me.
Interesting.
Who do you like? Judy?
Between Warren and Judy, it all depends on who gets the Jair Alexander treatment.
And I assume that's going to be Cortland Sutton.
Yeah.
But it seems like Judy is an afterthought and has been the past few. Like, he doesn't look good. I don't know what the deal is in Denver.
I'm just gonna gather some quick data here on fantasy points allowed. That's always my tiebreaker here. Is just matchup.
Fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver, yeah.
And against the running back. Warren slightly in a better situation. So I'll go Jalen Warren.
I do like McKinnon will have his game, Drum Master. Like, it's gonna be you're not gonna be able to project when he's gonna get in for 2 scores and 70 yards through the air, but that it's in his range of outcomes. It's just so hard to project. As far as the running back room, Isaiah Pacheco has that room. It's just you have to rely on screen passes to McKinnon to start him, unfortunately.
Brandon wants to know if he should drop Najee for Jalen Warren. He's a Steelers fan. He wants to keep someone from his team. I mean, I'm willing to bet on Jalen Warren over Najee, but I don't think that I don't know how much you actually gain from that. So I would rather trade Najee because he's a name and then pick up Jalen Warren.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to move off of Najee.
And if you're a Steelers fan and if you live in Pittsburgh, you might have more Steelers fans in your league, maybe, hopefully, and maybe you can make that sell. But I mean, everyone knows what the deal is with Pittsburgh. It's not great.
Lex, my bad. I did not see your question, but we got you now. Howell starting, Watson on the bench. Love is available to pick up. What is our opinion on what we should do here? Howell versus Love. Deshaun Watson is expected to play, right?
He is. He's active.
Now, Sam Howell has had some polarizing performances, empty first halves, big second halves. Jordan Love, for me, is in the best situation. Personally,
Jordan Love struggles against good teams, but seems to excel against bad teams. He plays Denver this week.
I'm personally rolling Jordan Love. I think the questionable tag on Watson at least has me thinking or rethinking starting him, and I think that Love is just better than Howell, even though Howell has a good situation. I think Love just has a better situation. So I'm gonna go with Love. But there is some bias for me here. So let's acknowledge that as well.
Yeah. Look at his background, guys. We know.
You guys know.
So the Commanders play at unfortunately they both play at 1:00. I wish I could play the game where watch the Commanders game, wait till 4:00 to pick up Watson, but they all play.
Love plays 4:25.
Love plays 4:25. So
yeah, if you're going with Love, you've got to just watch these two. So you either feel really good at 4:00 or you feel really bad.
I think I'm not picking up and playing Watson this week, or I'm not playing him. Sorry, I can pick him up just fine. Play Love, pick up Watson, drop Howell. Because who do the Commanders play next week?
Oh, looking ahead a week?
Yeah, because if they play the Eagles, you're not going to play Howell against Eagles. So so you don't need him. If you're not going to play him this week, you drop him.
Austin coming through with a super chat. Jerome Ford, Deontay Johnson, or Christian Watson at the flex. Deontay Johnson was activated from the IR. He is expected to play today. I'm not going to roll him out.
That was my question for you. Is it going to be like I have to play him in a dynasty league, but I have no other choice, right? Like dynasty is a lot tougher than redraft. I go Jerome Ford for me at the flex spot.
Yeah, and I think for me, I would probably roll with Christian Watson over Jerome Ford just because of the Kareem Hunt not experiment, but the duality that exists there. Christian Watson in his last 2 games, top 36 wide receiver, 4 targets, 7 targets, had the big game, 7 for 91 before the bye week. Denver is one of the best matchups you could have, and I am betting on Jordan Love this week. So I would go Christian Watson. Deontay, I would just stay away from.
Ford, yeah, he had a 50% snap share this past week. So he is splitting the work. But Kareem Hunt, I want to say, was quite a bit less. 37% snap share. So it's still, Ford still has the majority of the backfield. I don't think it's going to be, Kareem Hunt might earn a little bit more and more, but I still think it's Ford's backfield. But for the upside play, like, if you're going pure upside, Christian Watson absolutely has that, Austin.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're down in that matchup and you need a big performance, you're playing against a Tyreek Hill type player, Christian Watson can negate those big players on their other team.
All right, let's get a couple more in here.
Yeah, a couple more minutes. Let's power through them.
Henderson or Gibson in a non-PPR gross, but it's
Gibson.
Your play here.
Going Gibson.
Going Gibson.
Okay. Yeah.
Anything else? No, I think that's
it.
Everything.
Oh, perfect.
Look at that.
We made it. I thought we had a few more to go, but just some chatter in the chat in the comments. So thanks, guys. Appreciate everyone coming by.
I have 3 minutes here, Lando. Do I accept that trade that we talked about pre?
Ooh.
I mean, it would be spicy. I kind of need it though.
If it buys you a win, then I think it could be worth it. You're giving up a first, second, and third, or second, third, and fourth?
Second, third, fourth, fifth, Debo and Mac Jones for Mayfield, Swift, and Dobbs.
Mayfield, Swift, and Dobbs. Yeah. I mean, you're a Dobbs believer. You're a Packers fan. I mean, it's not bad. Mayfield he's a bulldog. Oh, you just did it.
I did it.
Holy. Last second. You got to start them ASAP.
Yeah, like literally. Oh no,
right
I'm
now.
over the roster limit. I have to drop some people. That's not good timing.
Last second, and have to drop players. Oh no.
Okay, I think that gets me out of the doghouse. Got to get Baker Mayfield in, and then Kendrick Bourne gets swapped out for Romeo
Swift.
Dobbs.
Okay.
And Swift goes in for Kareem.
There you go.
And Curtis Samuel, Wan'Dale Robinson.
I don't mind Samuel this week, but yes, sit Wan'Dale and start maybe even Bourne. Yep.
Hoo-wee!
Holy. Crazy. All right. Thanks.
Gotta love a last minute move.
Thank you for coming by, Mac. I appreciate everyone coming through. A lot better live stream this week than it was last. We're here every single week, and I got what to do with videos coming out as well. We do 2 or 3 each week. So if you want to send me a DM or a comment in the chat of who you want to see next, that always helps.
Heck yeah. No, it was great to get back onto the channel. I've been missing it, so I'm glad we got to do it, and appreciate everybody coming by. Like Ryan said, great week. Love talking football with the lads, and good luck this week, guys. Get those victories, and we'll be back here next week to keep you on the reg.
Yeah, good luck, everyone.
All right, see you later.